right, Shalom. First, I want to say, Call Halayim, La Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachaha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and who have taught us knowledge through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Honors and salutations to you fellow laborers out there doing the work in truth and in sincerity, especially during these times. Shalom to the few Akwaf that believe as well. A hearty shalom to you other laborers and believers that are scattered throughout the face of the earth. Even if you're among the heathen and look like the heathen who are the speckled bird Israelites, to the household of faith, which is the elect, I want to say shalom to you all. All right, the household of faith, man, because that's really what it's all about. You know, the elect, and the elect is going to be faithful until the end. So, I entitled this video, this is one of Esau's blessings. All right, this is one of Esau's blessings. And it's based around, or centered around Genesis 27, which I'm going to read here. And look up the word fatness, because when you see, after I look up the word, all right, and then you can apply it to what Esau is doing today, what he's doing in his history or throughout his history, especially this petrodollar. You can see that he has capitalized on the oil, because that's what fatness goes into, and he has control of it. Now he's losing control. Now he's, lashing out. Starting more wars. I mean, yeah, those tiny tops, which are the Amalekites of Edom, Esau, Edom. Yeah, they want to extend their land, but the resources is the most important thing. See, the Amalekites, which are the central banking families, they do fund the wars, both sides of it, and they don't want to profit big off these wars, which are nothing more but rackets and thievery, But again, it goes back to his blessing of the fatness of the earth. I'm going to get into that. So this is the book of Genesis 27. This is where Isaac blessed Esau. All right. Because Esau came from the field and he's seen that Jacob had got the blessing from Isaac. All right. So Jacob got the blessing from Isaac, and basically Esau wanted the blessing too, and he got blessed, and this is what he got blessed with, okay? Genesis 27, I'll start at verse 37, and Isaac, 37. And Isaac answered, I'll start at 36. And he said, it's not, hold on, Salakia. Let me see. Genesis 27 and 34. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. Right? Because he came in from the field from hunting and shit. He realized that Jacob got that blessing. Okay. Verse 35, and he said, thy brother came with subtlety and had taken away thy blessing. Meaning, Jacob had gotten the blessing, and the Lord was with that. The Lord put the spirit on Rebekah to accompany Jacob and going up to get the blessing from, his father Isaac. Okay? When you go into the story, because the word supplant. All right, you look it up. Let me see here. So, the meaning of supplant, it says supplant means to take the place of. See, supersede or replace another person or thing, often through force, strategy, or superior power. So the thing is, our forefather, Jacob took the place of Esau. He already had sold his birthright to our forefather Jacob. But now when the blessing was being passed down, all right, Jacob took the place of Esau as far as the blessing. Okay? because you think about how they came out of the womb of Rebecca. Esau came out first, so technically he would be the oldest. But that's according to the flesh and the spirit. Jacob is the oldest. Okay, he's over Esau in the spirit. Esau not even a spiritual man. By the way. So let's go back to it. Genesis 27:36, and he said, "Is not he rightly named Jacob? For he had supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he had taken away my blessing. And he said, Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me?" And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, "Behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son?" So this is Esau inquiring, all right, to Isaac, which is his father, he's inquiring to see if it's a blessing there for him. Okay, and this is the reply that that Esau got from Isaac. He says, verse 38, "And Esau said to his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father, verse 39, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, "Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above," right? Like the dew that's on the grass is all over, all right? And the word fatness, when you look it up, because that's the word I want to harp on, all right? That's the word I want to key in on, if you will. The word fatness. Okay, here we go. The Hebrew word there, the root word, because the root word, it says shaman, which goes to what? It says fatness, fat piece, fertile place, richly prepared food, fat, fatness, fat pieces, oil. All right, oil, olive oil, fatness, stout, vigorous, fertile spots or places. Fertile meaning what? Plenty. So what the word fertile means. All right, let's look up fertile. We can look it up. Let's move that the way. We'll search that. Fertile place, right? Fertile refers to the capability of producing offspring in or in agriculture, the land that is rich in resources and productive. See, the land that is rich in resources and productive. See? All right, it says the term stems from the Latin fertilis, bearing in abundance. Okay, so there you go, man. He has, dibs on the fertile spots or places on earth. And one of the things about the earth is involving the liquid gold, which is what? Oil. This is what it's all about, man, when you get into it, man. Let's play the clip. I got a clip, which I went into this last night, and the same video, but I want to harp on something that's very important, because we got to pay attention to Esau's blessing. This is how you identify who was Esau, Edom in the earth, man. All right. The characteristics of Esau, they stick out like a sore thumb. It shows, as far as, his everyday life, just like who the people of Jacob is. It shows in our very everyday life, of what we do. All right. So I want to say fair use, fair use. Of course, my videos are not monetized. I don't make any compensation off these videos, only for literary commentary and educational purposes. So with this fair use, fair use, of course, it's a biblical education or prophetic prophecy, simply, being brought out. So under the 1976 Section 107 Fair Use Act, I want to say fair use, fair use. Let's dive into this clip from Redacted.
Impossible. And ultimately, that's what we're fighting for, because the whole purpose of our war is to essentially achieve Israeli goals. We have no terror.
Which are who? Those are the Idumeans that have appointed the Lord's land into their possession, right? Let me get this. Let me bring this out, right? Read it on the other 16:11. That one to get that. Ezekiel 36, and you brothers know the scriptures, all right. But for edification's sake, we're going to bring it out again, right? Ezekiel 35 and Ezekiel 36 and verse 5. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possessions with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. Right. So the residue of the heathen, the so-called Arab nations, and then it says Idumea. Idumea is a Greek way of saying Edom. Okay. For those of you that don't know, you can look it up here. All right. Idumea. Idumea, see? Or Edom was an ancient region. See, it goes into the etymology, right? It was an ancient region south of Judea, inhabited by the descendants of Esau, because that's who it was referring to. Remember, Genesis 36:8 says what? Esau is Edom. So there you go, man. All right, and you see it say Mount Seir. All right, it's residents, the Idumeans. So basically the Edomites, man. This is who we're referring to. It's just a Greek way of saying, the Edomites. Who's controlling the land of Israel? The Edomites. By way of who? The chief tribe, the chief of them, which is Amalek. Okay, that's who's behind these wars, as far as the so-called, war on terror, the raping, robbing, and pillaging of these different lands for the resources, because that's the fulfillment of Esau's blessing. All right, they get their blessing, especially through their elites, man, because the elites, they the ones that enjoy the blessing the most. All right, the elites, and then the lower circle under the elites, which is the politicians and shit like that, billionaires, all them people. They the main ones that enjoy the blessings. All right. It says that they appointed the land of the Lord, which the Lord made that land for his people, the 12 tribes of Israel, the so-called Negro, Latino, and American people, and they put it into their possession. All right, and they were joyful about doing it. This is why you have the Balfour Declaration, man. That was made by, what was his name, Arthur Balfour and Lord Rothschild. Right? So, and look at what's going on. All right, they the ones that's in the land that's, waging war on the residue of the heathen, the so-called Arab nations around them. All right, and there's been a continuance of that since they entered into, our land, because neither one of them belong in our land, and that's the reality of it. That's the truth of the matter, Verse 6, prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains, and to the hills, to the rivers, and to the valleys, thus said the Lord power. So prophesy to the ones that dwell in the land, It says, thus said the Lord power, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. Right, our land, all right, is borne the shame of the heathen. Okay? And this is why, the Lord is going to ultimately cleanse our land of those goddamn heathen, man. So again, this is all about what? The oil. The fertile spots or places involving what? Oil, which is what? That region. That region, which consists of the so-called Gulf states. The OPEC countries right there that's centered around that region right there. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iran, so on and so forth, man. Matter of fact, 1 second, let me get that real quick. Let me go right here. So, Saudi Arabia, Iraq. Remember, they invaded Iraq, remember? It says, Saudi Arabia. And these are people supposed to be behind the 9/11. When you go into the history of it, right? Oh man, I tell you, man, the lies that they tell, man. But anyways, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, UAE, United Arab Emirates, Iran, and Kuwait. See? So out of all the states, all the five I just named, the only one that's left standing right now is Iran. Because they already went into Syria. A little bit that Syria had, they went in there. Okay? So again, let's play the clip, man. Gotta get into this, right? Play back one more. Again, fair use, fair use.
And ultimately, that's what we're fighting for, because the whole purpose of our war is to essentially achieve Israeli goals. We have no territorial aims in the region. Our only interest historically was really in the oil and the 47 products around the world that oil produces, that petroleum is part of. But we have no...
And you just heard it from the retired Colonel Douglas McGregor. That's the truth. He just told you the truth. What it's all about, the oil. And he said the 47 products that goes along with oil, you know, or that the oil produces, or that you make from oil. Okay, which I don't know the 47 products, but you know, I can look it up real quick. So, or basically that depends on oil, I would say. Petroleum and natural gas are used to create thousands of everyday products through petrochemicals, including plastics, synthetic fabrics, here you go, pharmaceuticals, and household items. Over 96% of everyday products are derived from oil byproducts, which are essential for manufacturing everything from digital devices to personal beauty and care items. So, yeah, digital devices to personal beauty care items. Yeah, that's huge. You know, that's huge. And manufacturing is suffering right now due to the straits. And it's been suffering really since the pandemic, you know. Got to keep bringing that out. So again, this oil is big business. You know, now you see how the oil became liquid gold, man. Okay? So, again, going back to the scriptures, Genesis 27 and 39, and Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. And you see it, man. Okay? The fatness of the earth, the oil, the richness, the fertile parts of the land, the fertile spots or places of the land. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And so, basically, that's how you go in these different lands and get the resources, by the sword. Now, let's get something else. It's like it. Let's get something else. All right, the book of Psalm 73 and verse 7 says, Their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than heart could wish. Right, so this word fatness is going to be a different word in the Hebrew. Okay, let's look up the word fatness in this particular scripture. The Hebrew word there is kalab. Kalab. Okay, kalab. It says fat of humans, of beasts, choices, best part, abundance. So it goes into abundance again of products of the land. See, the resources. So now we paint the picture. Now we paint the picture of what it's really about. It's about controlling the resources. Resources bring forth wealth, man. He who controls the resources control the wealth. This is how the elites, the wicked elites of this society, this is how they got their wealth, man. Stealing, pillaging, murdering, robbing, all right, the nations of its resources, man. Okay? That's exactly what they do. This is why we got to bring out Micah. Slaki. Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it's in the power of their hand. Right? The Lord put you Edomites in power, man. So this is how you're able to go around the earth and do what you do. It's in the power of your hands because the Lord giving you that power. Okay? Verse 2. And they covet fields. Why they covet the fields? What the word covet means? We're going to, matter of fact, Let's look it up on the blue letter first, and we're going to go get more definition on the word covet. The Hebrew word there is chamad. Chamad is the Hebrew word, okay? It says to desire, covet, take pleasure in, delight in, to desire, to be desirable, to delight greatly, desire greatly. Yeah, desirableness, preciousness. Okay, Strong's definition. Desire. Covet feels they desire others feel, right? Now let's look up a little more of covet if we can here. We'll get a little deeper into it. Matter of fact, let's go into mine. I haven't even gotten to the article yet, Salakia. I'm going to read a little bit of it. The word covet from the online etymology dictionary when it loads up. All right. It says to desire or wish for inordinately or without regard for the rights of others. Right, man. This is the so-called white man. He don't give a fuck about, the rights of the different nations to their own lands. This is rightfully their land, right? He don't care about that. Okay? He want to go in there, get the resources, and whatever happens to the people, which is really the worst part of it. They kill. These devils will kill millions upon millions of people to get the resources. They don't give a fuck, man. Why do you think they're always bombing schools and hospitals? Who's doing that? The tiny tops, all right, and the fucking rest of you goddamn lower level Edomites that do the bidding of your elites, like America. They use America to do exactly that. Why do you think they're over in there in that region fighting against Iran? Iran is the last 5 of the countries that they haven't or they want to subdue, and they can't do it. Okay, because of his backing of its allies, Gog being one of them, which is Russia. And then other BRICS nations. Okay. It says right here, very desirous, passionate, eagerness, ambition. Yep. But the top part is the main thing: to desire or wish for inordinately or without regard for the rights of others. Man, that's the so-called white man to the T. So let's finish up verse 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence. His sword, remember one of his blessings was a sword as well. The missiles. All right. The justification of this so-called war on terror was what? To go into these different countries that I named. Not I named, but that Google named as far as the major oil producing Gulf states in that region. And you notice all them fucking countries have been invaded. Okay, matter of fact, let me get something else. The Middle East. Oh shit, fuck it. Look at this. Let's bring this info out. August 2nd, 1990, Iraq led by Saddam Hussein invaded and occupied Kuwait on behalf of who? The United States. Remember that Saddam Hussein was a active CIA operative, or what you call it? Yeah. CIA. What you call them, guys? CIA. Basically, worked for the CIA, right? I forget the maybe operative or something like that to that nature. But he worked for the CIA. Okay, him and Saddam Hussein. I mean, Osama bin Laden. Okay, that's what they used to invade Kuwait, a major oil-producing Gulf state. See? And that led to what? Desert Storm, Operation Desert Storm. Okay? So, what else we got here? Okay. Other historical context. 1980 through 88, the Iran-Iraq War, a long conflict causing massive debt for Iraq, setting the state for the 1990 invasion. See, it was all a setting up and backing of the elites, man. Since 2003, Iraq War, a subsequent invasion of Iraq by a U.S.-led coalition, leading to the overthrow of Saddam Hussein. And they used them for its purpose. It's like it. They used them for their purpose, and they got rid of them after that. Okay, that's what they do. They overthrew Saddam Hussein. And what was the other countries? Qatar and Kuwait, Qatar. Matter of fact, let's go back to it. Shalakia. Okay. Yeah, so Saudi Arabia. They invaded Iraq. They invaded Kuwait. UAE. And Saudi Arabia. And Iran. That was the last, them was the other three that they basically warred with. Okay, but Saudi Arabia agreed to the petrodollar alliance with the U.S. dollar. It's like the Saudi Arabia agreed to do business through the U.S. dollar and make the U.S. dollar, the petrodollar. Let's read it real quick right here. This is an article I wanted to bring out. The petrodollar, how an oil for security pact rescued the U.S. dollar. From Bretton Woods system collapse to petrodollar system formation, this piece traces how a crisis-born pact between Washington and Riyadh reshaped global finance and why that dollar dominance is now beginning to fray, which I looked at the word fray on the Etamon, which I'll get here. The word fray. Feeling of alarm, okay? Feeling of alarm, right? And that's the main part you need to see or understand, all right? You have a feeling of alarm of the U.S. dollar, what? Collapsing. People in fear of that, as far as the everyday commoners, but the elites, this is what they want because they have the MOTB, which is the mark of the beast, which is set to be put online. So it's all going towards their enterprise as far as the collapse of the U.S. dollar. Okay, so it says, and why that dollar dominance is now beginning to fray. The worldwide financial system relies on more than mere figures in the ledger. It is founded on trust, influence, and occasionally a silent agreement made in times of crisis. Few narratives illustrate this more effectively than the emergence of the petrodollar, a system created from the downfall of one monetary regime and the relentless diplomacy that established another, right? Because I forgot what country they said the. In fact, let me look it up right here. It was called the Bretton. What? I remember the Bretton Woods. Okay, let me see. Yeah, so the Bretton Woods system was established in July 1944 by delegates from 45 allied nations, primarily designed by Harry Dexter White of the U.S. Treasury and John Maynard Keynes of the British Treasury. Yeah, it was a collaboration of Great Britain and America. That was the two major parties. See? And what happened was, with the emergence of the petrodollar, they gave America total dominance over Britain as far as in currency. Says it was finalized at the UN Monetary and Financial Conference in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to stabilize exchange rates and govern post-war economic order. Okay, key details of the architects, the names of the major ones. It says the outcome. The conference resulted in the formation of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and the World Bank. See, who controls the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank? The elites. The World Bank is out of London, England. Okay. And who owns that? Let's see who owns the World Bank. See, let me see. Um, the World Bank is jointly owned by its 1980. Sorry, the World Bank is jointly owned by its 189 member country governments, which that's not true. That's not fucking true. It says, all right, let me see. Because I know the Rothschilds own this shit. Yep. Let me see. I might not be able to look it up on this time, but because I don't want to hold you too long. Anyways, I'm not gonna. Yeah, because they ain't gonna name the major players. The major players, when you look it up, you usually be able to easily find it. Anyways, because the financial capital of the Edomites system is London. Okay, they one of those three unclean spirits. Okay, the scripture goes into them, which Babylon, the U.S. is the military capital. London is the financial capital, and the Vatican Church is the so-called spiritual capital of Esau's kingdom. Okay, so let's continue on. I ain't gonna get stuck on that. You can dig into it in your own time. Let's get to it. A little bit more of this article. 54 years ago, the world experienced a significant break that changed everything. On the 15th of August, 1971, U.S. President Richard Nixon made a move that reverberated through global capitals. During the national television address, he declared that America would stop converting dollars into gold for foreign governments, effectively closing the gold window that had supported the Bretton Woods system for 25 years. So that's the end of the gold standard, right? For many years since 1944, for many years since the 1944 conference in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, the dollar had been the cornerstone of the system. Every other currency linked to it, and the dollar itself exchangeable for gold at $35 an ounce. However, in 1971, America was losing gold rapidly. Loose monetary and fiscal policies. The heavy expenses of the Vietnam War and Lyndon Johnson's Great Society initiatives had inundated the world with dollars, which I don't know what that word means. Let's look it up. It says refers to being overwhelmed, flooded, or submerged. Okay, I get it. Either literally by water, metaphorically by a large volume of things like tasks. Okay, so the dollar basically flooded into the world because that became that became the world reserve currency. Okay, and this is how the countries, all right, are basically being sanctioned, and they put tariffs on these different countries through the U.S. dollar. Okay, the dominance of the dollar. It says European countries, realizing the dollar was overvalued, started requesting gold in exchange. Nixon's choice was meant to be a short-term strategy, but it ultimately led to, the demise of the Bretton Woods system. So they basically undermined its allies, But it was okay because, again, the elites, they're the main ones that prosper off these different systems and things like that. Okay, so it says, because they're the ones in control of it, man. What ensued was a period of genuine peril to American influence as the dollar lost its gold backing. Its worth started to fluctuate and decline. Merely 2 years afterwards, the Yom Kippur War sparked an Arab oil embargo that caused crude prices to soar and revealed a harsh reality. The world's most essential resource had become a tool of warfare. Washington needed to respond, right? Which is what oil, man. All right, the oil that these different Gulf states have, which again, through Saudi Arabia, you had the emergence of the petrodollar. Okay, and what happened was, excuse me, and what happened was, the oil boosted the dollar. All right, because why? If you gotta do business and trade through the U.S. dollar, that made the dollar value go up. Okay, if you will, because it's backed by what? Oil. Now, let's see here. It says, let me jump down here and get this part. This is the main part I want to get. I'm going to get ready to close. So Lockie is taking a little minute, but it's a lot of info. In 1974, the solution was put in place by the Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger. The United States made a covert deal with Saudi Arabia, the biggest oil producer in OPEC. Riyadh agreed to sell its oil only in U.S. dollars and, importantly, to invest its large surpluses in U.S. Treasury bonds. This is why you see the countries and nations getting away from the U.S. Treasury bonds. They dumping that shit. They dumping it right now. All right, and going away from the U.S. dollar. They doing business in the other currencies, man. The yuan or yen. You got the fucking Russian ruble and other currencies, man, starting to emerge. It says, but to no avail, because the MOTB system will be the thing that's going to be the currency. Okay. And it says, in return, Washington offered military protection, advanced weaponry, and a security guarantee for the House of Saud. Other Gulf monarchs, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and the UAE, quickly followed this example. So basically, they got all those Gulf states to basically do business through the U.S. dollar. And this is why they was able to sanction Iran all these decades for not basically agreeing to its terms. Iran had been under sanctions for a long time. I forget the exact amount of years, but it's been a few decades or more. It says, by 1975, the whole OPEC group had essentially consented to price oil in dollars. Thus, the petrodollar was created. See? But now, by the petrodollar not renewing a contract with these different countries, these OPEC countries, now the dollar is left alone out there. This is why any given moment the dollar can collapse. Though you have other countries still doing business and trade through the U.S. dollar, but it can collapse at any given moment, man. So the world reserve currency is almost out the door as far as the U.S. dollar is concerned. It's almost out the door, man. Okay? And on with the MOTB system, because this is the new wave of currency they're going to use, man. Okay? So again, it's all about the oil, man. Okay? It's all about the oil, man. All right? And with the collapse of this U.S. dollar, what's going to happen is the MOTB is on deck, okay? Matter of fact, let's get this. I want to look over this. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, it says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices," right? And the people of Satan, which is the Edomites, All right. That's why they're coming and working this after the, working of Satan, because they're the physical counterparts of Satan. All right. We're not ignorant of what they're doing. We know with the collapse of the U.S. dollar, what's next. All right. Because the Lord have given us the eye salve to see through the spirit of what's next, man. Okay. The Lord says this, right? Let's get the book of Isaiah 42, right? And verse 9, it says, Isaiah 42:9, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them, right? The Lord tell you of these things, man. They're going to bring out this mark of the beast system, wherein you're going to cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive that charagma, all right, and imprint it, or imprinted or embedded, implanted, same shit. All right, a device underneath the skin, where it goes to your hand or your forehead. Okay, that's what they're gonna do. Okay, this is why when you see the the dollar and the world economy collapsing, just know that the major prophecy we're looking forward to coming to pass, or to be put forth in the major way, is the MOTB prophecy, man. Okay, this is what they want to do, man. Okay, and we're not ignorant of that. The Lord have made us very well aware of that. Okay, this is the book of Isaiah 29:15. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord, and their works are done in the dark. Or their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us and who knoweth us? And this is the thing that the elites are doing. They think they hide their little agenda or enterprise from the Lord, but the Lord is going to cause your enterprise to fail. That's the book of Job 5, man. All right. They're going to cause your enterprise to fail. See, the Lord's going to interrupt this thing, because so when you push that MOTB, the Lord's going to act on our behalf, man. And we wholeheartedly believe in that. We believe in that until the very death, man. That's why the Lord put on our spirits to reject that system. Okay? It says that they that don't worship the beast or his image should be killed. That includes some of us men in the Lord. We can be put to death for that, man. Some of us going to be martyrs that's going to go against that system when they roll out this MOTB, But so be it, man. Yahweh Shai said, they who lose their life for my name. So let me get that real quick, man. Because with all this being said, that's what's going on. Let me see. Let me get this one. Mark 8 in verse 35. It says, For whosoever will save, this is in red, so Yahweh Shai speaking, by the way. Mark 8:35. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, the same shall save it. Right. So this is what we're going to lose our life for, potentially, man. Those of us that are set to be martyrs, we can lose our lives for the sake of the Lord, man, and the gospel's sake, man. But so be it, man. It says what? It says the same shall save it. So Lord, wouldn't we those men, man? Because we see the things concerning, the MOTB. We see it happening. We see through this war. We see through the Straits of Hormuz being closed what it's going to ultimately do. So we're not puzzled by that, man. We're watching, man, and we're waiting and anticipating this thing. Because why? The Lord has made us aware, man. So anyways, I'm going to close it, man. It's kind of like all over the place, but a lot of info came out. But I want to say, Lord, when you were edified, all praises and glory be unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodash. Again, double honors to the apostles and elders. Shalom to you fellow laborers and you few sisters out there. Till next time, I want to say shalom and abba.